Yeah, it's B.
All right, good evening, everybody. If we could stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Toulin.
Who's Joyce?
Joyce isn't coming in today because there wasn't power on the side of the building.
Oh,
So she's gonna come in tomorrow morning and sign everything.
We had one hand check for Alex Marcoux, $314.
Ready?
Yep.
Katie Coppola, 15509, Shayla Gherkins, 2787, Mary Lyons, 2227, Janice Weir's, 84571, Kiki Doniswall, 73374, Caleb Smith is 46, Marley Beltry is 41, Joyce Keegles, 59062, Jason Gagnon, 4, Andrew Gray is 67234, Kip Kaiser is 839, Thomas S. is 16160, Joyce Gallant is 837, Julian Bell is 64060, Karen Clement 128689, Heather Haggett's 31284, Tamara Peak is 80145, Daphne Wass is 85372, Joseph Bird is 1115, John Bryan is 70908, Evan Crafts is 21094, Keith Culligan is 93259, Alyssa Sanuski is 205693, Alexander Hall is 46912, Julie Labonte is 45283, Jeremy Potter is 2662, Nathan Richard is 122539, Katrina Tennant is 71101, Jack Tremblay is 78470, Trevor Whitby is 74381, Kaden Blazik Ahern is 121690, Jeffrey Collins is 1513, Wayne Robinson is 1660, Kendra Brackett is 583.5, Justin Doty is 90138, Robert Gagnon is 1305.57, Matt Kelly is 956, Robert McCon is 160.80, Christopher Spitaleri is 762.99, Josh Turner is 197.15, Saltzman is 827, John Vince 1,504.21, Jeremy Worcester 149.9, Jared Gray 1,091.62.
total deposit $1,080.12.
Combined total is $31,383.26. We had 14 hours overtime, 22 at the fire department, 36 at the highway department. We still have some 22 account.
Air gas 6750, Casella Waste 1,840, Campaign Car Wash is 6,000, Medical Business Services is 807.89, Treasurer's New Hampshire's 103, Tech Inc. is $150 even.
Accounts payable 2022, $33,111.87.
Okay, Aflac is $83.32, Amazon Capital Services $94, RJ Hardware is $35.35, AT New Hampshire is $337.88, AT&T Mobility is $884.87, Block 5 Tech is $5,834.99, E&J Auto Parts is $249.29, Eversource is $1,894.25, Frank's Repair Services $1,253.75, Hartman Oil and Propane $2,004 $88.90, International Code Council is $47, Kip Kaiser is $131.36, LCB Transport is $500 even, Leaf is $124, Monarch Electrical Services $3,724.80, and Salt is $4,677.34. Rockingham County Register is $6.60. Rockingham Planning Commission is $4,660. Suburban Propane $278.66. Tidal Communications $1,464. Unifirst Corp is $63.40. Valak is 261.45. WB Mason is 165.01.
Total accounts payable 2023, 29,260.22.
We had an ACH payment to New Hampshire Retirement System for $55,345.76.
The consent agenda does not approve.
You want all this?
Yeah, that would be fine. What is the last we discussed? That's New Hampshire retirement.
I think I didn't sign something. Did I sign something? Did I sign the last one?
It's on the register.
Oh, I'm sorry. The last thing. Sorry, thankful.
Oh. Man. And she's not here.
We need Joyce.
We're lost without her.
I'll take a motion on the consent agenda. John's going to abstain to the minutes.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody?
Just clarification, this doesn't 110 non-publics, because I saw there was the 110 and the 117 were in there.
The 117 should have been from the week prior.
10.
It should be 117.
All right, because I saw there was non-public for 110 and 117 in the
In the
packet.
mail file? Well, I
Yeah.
had left the mail from last week in there so John could read them.
Oh, okay. All right, so yeah, fine, those we have to vote on those again.
Consent agenda includes public minutes, non-public minutes. There is no recreation manifest currently. I mean, there is no treasurer's report currently. There is a recreation manifest and building permits. Docs?
A voluntary address change for 180 Route 125. This is the lot here. It has the daycare here, and then there's a car lot here. They would like to reassign them 180A and 180B. That's what the state is requesting in order to issue the license, the dealer license for that lot here. I've checked with police and fire, and neither of them have any issue with the assignment.
Are they owned by the same person?
Yes, it's one parcel.
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Anybody opposed? And this is only signed by me. Chief, do you want to come talk about body cameras?
Sure.
Okay, so if you remember last year, we applied for and received a grant for up to a $35,000 match. All the steps were taken necessary to accept that, including your signatures, so thank you for that. We went through several body camera companies, tested out at least one of them on a 30 or 45-day trial basis. And we picked Axon, which is the company that Fremont PD actually uses. Milton PD used it before when I was up in Wakefield, and they liked it a lot. So we are at the point where we need to actually purchase the body cameras. The way this works is that the town needs to purchase them in full prior to, and then we submit the purchase order as well as the paid invoice for the grant to them, and they will match that half. The total price that the town is looking for is 50, was it, exactly?
It's $50,639.80.
So that's the total price. So the town has to pay that up front first. So what I'm looking for is to encumber from last year in order to pay for that up front first, and then the town will get that revenue back, or for an offsetting revenue, I guess you call it, for the grant.
And that's the way the grant works, is a 50% match up to 35?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
So
so
they'll
we'll
give
get
us the
like 25.
25,000 and change back, yeah.
Okay.
I did apply for an additional 25,000 and we did not get that competitive. And it didn't just cover body cameras, it was only $500,000 available, and that covered radios, body cameras, and I think vests all across the state, so we didn't get it. And they already knew that we did get a previous grant, so I think that we'd have it in the fact that we didn't get that grant.
Is that within the guidelines, the encumbrance?
Yes. The
And
quote
they,
was dated 10/26 of 2022.
We just need a motion?
Yep.
So moved.
Are they still honoring that price?
It's good until 1/15 of '23, so.
Yep.
Probably.
You're right.
No
And
way.
yeah, we're within it, yeah.
150.
Plus or minus 7 days.
Yeah.
I'll second it, I just hope that they agree to the price.
That's what we're gonna.
That's what we're given.
New
6:39.
customers.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried.
Sure. Thank you, folks, appreciate it. We should have those up and running by late April.
Nice.
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, Keith, how many did you try?
We tried one physically. The other big one in the area, we relied on Nashua and state police feedback, and we just didn't go with them. I have previous with another watch guard, which I would never ask anybody to use. So this was the top one. There's not really any more out there.
All right, thank you.
Tom Palma is no longer available to serve as an alternate to
CPCNH.
He's the alternate
the
town
CPCS.
representative. Yes.
Bob
Redlinski.
Redlinski wants to replace him. Do I have a motion?
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Andy?
Sure I got everything.
I like the staple stuff. It's so much easier.
Thank you.
Would you like to have here? Chance? And then one more. So what I'm handing out here is 2 quotes for epoxy for the basement. Prior to the holidays, I came in requesting we use impact fees for floor renovations for the main floor of the building and for the basement. At the time when I came in, I had quotes for vinyl plank, and then the board had requested of me to go back to the drawing board for the basement and try to get some estimates for epoxy down for the basement. I had originally had scheduled 3 to come out and take a look at it. I only have these 2 that were presented to me. The third was not an epoxy, but was a polish, just going on the mouth. And that's one that's not in front of. He said that was worth of 20,000 if we wanted to do a straight polish. And if we wanted to go down that road, my recommendation would to not be, because it won't fix those aesthetic things like the cracks that's already underneath what we have down there, because they also have to break it down. In conversations I've had with Kip, there he is. We also don't know exactly what's like underneath and how far it goes. So if we do a polish, we have to continue furthering that grind down. So even though we don't have that on, I don't think that was really logistical to go down. The other one's from Northeast, the other one from Minuteman. Minuteman's based out of Manchester, Northeast out of Londonderry. You know, based off of my research, I thought they were both pretty reputable. They have good reviews, good customer service. They both came down within the week when I had called them to take a look at the facilities. Minuteman quoted, I don't know why, they gave us two quotes, but the quote underneath for that 16,500 roughly, is for the epoxy for basement. He didn't put it as detailed as Northeast, but that will also include the cove. And it's a flake system, which, it's in here somewhere. Oh, it's right here, underneath. It's gonna be something more, and you correct me if I'm wrong. It's gonna be something along the lines of these three. This is through, these samples are through Northeast, but it's a very similar technology, flake. I'm sure Kip's much more aware of that stuff than I am, but based off of my research, that is a durable product to put down on the floor. And while Minuteman did not put it in their description here, that's what they told me, that's what they would use. I'm all over the place here, versus Northeast. They're a little bit higher at, 19,200, or 199, I should say. But they put into detail, exactly what the process and what's going down on the floor, and that COVID was included as well. I think I said COVID was included in Minuteman, but they did not tell that, didn't put it in here, they told me verbally. So I don't know if this is the road we go down, if this is where we need, further writing, and then as a cost comparison based off of what we were originally looking for. And I would still probably say is still prefer the choice for rec. We don't know what comes with it, but it's blank and that.
16,000.
Yeah, there's a big cost savings right here. That was the total project.
Oh, I see, so Minuteman has both of them on it.
Yeah, so
Yep, I
Minuteman
got
did
it.
the upstairs as well.
Yep,
I don't know why. And then Northeast did just the basement, but this bottom figure here, the 16,000 roughly is downstairs.
compare to first priced it out to put plank downstairs? Is it
I
less?
compared this one here and it was, so we looked at Lowe's, Extreme Flooring,
Yeah.
Integrity Flooring, and off the top of my head, out in the basement, there'd be less space on the floor, but it was right around, $22,000 for the downstairs.
Okay.
And upstairs being, say, closer to that 20.
Okay, so this
The
is,
epoxy will up a lot better with, in the long run, you'll have a longer life expectancy, especially with the amount of kids and stuff you get on it.
Flake anti-slip or just decorative?
For
Yeah.
the most part. You can ask them to put some in it if you want. It's an epoxy that they put down, so they can add anti-slip grit into it too. It's just, it's stuff they're throwing down with the flake. It's just a little bit of sand that basically goes in it.
If you do it, definitely put some in it.
Yeah.
You come in off that snow, you'll skate across that floor.
Or if it's raining. So ask them if they can put some anti-skid in it.
Put some grit.
So
Right here.
why is the rec want vinyl plank instead of epoxy?
We are basing it off of just strictly off of aesthetics. We believe have more function out of the downstairs through weekend rentals. No matter what we put down, the rec department's goal with the basement of the community center is to use it more for programming the work week and also for senior programs, but also the ability to rent out stairs more during the weekends. The community center is what really puts funds into the revolving account, and that's kind of our cash cow. We typically break even on almost everything we offer. In my time here, maybe on average, even pre-COVID, we get less than 10 rentals a year downstairs versus we get 50 plus for the upstairs. So we want to use the downstairs way to also drive in more revenue. Right?
I also just wanted to add, just because the basement has in past time gotten a little bit of seepage in there towards the south wall, even though the vinyl plank is a product that won't be affected by the water, if water gets trapped under it, you may create some mildew, fungus, versus the epoxy, which is easy to sweep, wet back if you did have a water situation.
And did you think if we did one of those colors?
Yeah,
Aesthetically, that would kind of brighten it up down there?
I was kind of looking at a whole bunch of different options. They also gave us some pretty flat matted colors
Yeah.
that we could look at as well. I mean, I think we were looking, so, you know, a bit more design and
Yeah.
kind of popped out for the downstairs. Exactly what we put down, I think we're pretty open-minded as to, you know, what will work best. With we've already put on the walls, which if you have a chance to go, still smell wonderful there. But we, you know, we want it room together, but also, you know, be effective in what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Usually, a lot of businesses will go with the flake because it hides a lot of the faults. Yeah, and your fixing of the cracks and everything else, it'll kind of mask that a little. I just think long term, I think you're gonna get a lot more, it's gonna hold water, and when we've had water issues down there before, we've had the foundation repaired a couple times, so.
And it's cheaper.
It's
I think
cheaper.
if it's done right, epoxy looks good. I mean, I've seen garages done in epoxy that it looks good. It adds to the space.
Yeah, I think we'll go with whatever we can do to get the building done. I mean, no matter what decision is made, I'm hoping tomorrow morning I can start calling and saying, hey, you know, let's look at the calendar here and see what we can do. I respect whatever decision the board comes of it. Ultimately, I believe we need to make a decision that is gonna be, make sense for the building, short and long term, and can we do this effective at the same time? Like I said, you know, I prefer vinyl more so just for the aesthetic side of things, but I certainly understand the other direction as well.
Scratch easily.
No, it's pretty,
It's
I
durable.
mean, you could drive cars on it and
Yeah, that's true.
mechanics use it, and there's a reason that they utilize it in garages. It's pretty bulletproof.
How's your bay floor held up? Other than my top coat, the floor itself is doing well. The top coat is peeling on mine.
And how many years have you had that?
That's 11.
10, 11,
And
yeah.
that's on the southern exposure, and we literally are bringing salt and
Yeah.
sand,
You're
Fire
using
trucks.
it, yeah.
fire trucks across it. The paint itself, will
And Joe was nice enough to, yeah, a tour of the certainly not gonna get the same wear and tear.
On any basement or kind of stuff like that, I would more towards hold up here, have the issue.
We go down that road, is it recommended that, you know, I back to this specific Manning try to get more detail? Do we want to look at the other vendor here, go out and get quotes?
As long as they put in writing that they're included. I think you'd be fine. You have down there, making sure what you're ordering to color.
All right,
Is that
yeah,
your writing?
like, along with it, I was trying to here, and, you know, I see that, you know, line Z is not included, we'll include it, so while I can grain of salt if the decision we ultimately make, I would personally feel more comfortable following process into it and exactly applies, not just.
And Karen, we're fine to use impact fees because this is related to increased throughput through the building from growth?
Yes, and there's plenty of money in there.
Past conversation, but for the upstairs, would it be okay to move forward with that for the vinyl
I thought we already did that.
vinyl plank, or
We voted on.
Vote on the
We-
vinyl upstairs.
We asked them to hold off so we
Because
could
of
get
this.
the. So would you was Minuteman the cheapest for the up two, or?
They were the cheapest. I mean, he didn't spend as much time up as he did downstairs, and I mean, be truly more interested in the upstairs of the building and wanted to work on that. I based on what I did for the holiday into the vinyl plank for the building. I thought this was on the low end. Not obviously, we have to do what's effective, but I just thought comparison. I don't want to use the word, but it kind of stuck out more because, you know, the other vendor we looked at, low was through the roof, and then the other two were reflective. And based off the conversations I had, you know, but where's it? I felt like kind of in the with flooring, we can revisit this Minuteman about this worked with before with the carpeting building and whatnot. I know Extreme, a smaller company, so I know that put extra care into it. Again, I'm always on the course that we want to take, direction on, you know, where we're going to.
What was the number for Extreme and upstairs?
We'll have to call them so I can get updated numbers to be more reflective of the floor that we have here, the top floor combined.
Oh, right.
Integrity at 42,500, and Extreme was at 40,500, a little bit less, difference of 700.
Companies don't do epoxy?
They don't do epoxies. They were my first steps there. They didn't do that. They only.
Gotcha.
It's 3628. So,
And I did contact. Sorry, Anita. I haven't had the chance to over from, but when I spoke from, I said, well, if we end up through you, but we an epoxy, essentially doing half the order, would that change that order? And I was told that it would change the materials coming in.
That was gonna be my question, with whether Minuteman would still honor the 16.5
If we-
if we just did one. Because if he does both jobs, change, because they're both on the same order, so that's his quote for both jobs. So,
I mean, you were the one that had with them, and you say I was alarmed by prices. I mean, just looking at these two worlds of difference,
Yeah.
I would rather spend an extra $25 and get something that know exactly what we're getting, what's going to last for a long time, and it's going to be high. Here, you were that gives me a little pause.
I will say, I will refer to my, I always have on hand, so I'm not the most expertise person when it comes to these type of things. So if I find out, I always, but to get down to this, good review, they have great customer service, so I'm sure they do good work. Just, I thought it was a little bit different based on the quotes I got prior to the 23 calendar year.
my thoughts is, I would say, I know it's at 32 for me, and I would say, I would be comfortable making a motion to see more than 36, and then see if you can get it both done for 36. At this point, it gives him enough room, if he wants to go with Integrity for, if they can do it for 20, it still gives me 16. Because you have the money in the end. That would be, I would make that say.
So do we have? Yeah.
If it comes more than 36, then come back to us, but if it doesn't, with that,
do I have a second to that?
That sounds.
I would definitely epoxies. Yes.
With the non-slip,
Yeah.
especially if we're gonna have elderly stuff
Yeah.
down there.
Add some.
In discussion? All. Motion carries.
As always, thank you for having me.
Warrant articles. We've already approved. Have we done maintenance to town buildings? No. These are all new.
They're all new.
Capital reserve buildings to add 50,000.
There is, the current is about 100. We still to extend the units at the range and the 55 split with the rec for painting. Then we would slated for 23 a window at would be the biggest cost. Some of the other, we haven't done windows there, we did.
Yeah, we
Doors were rotting out.
Just budget season, we had
I remember
all over the place.
we had those steel doors.
So how much will that 100K get drawn down by the projects you just mentioned?
I'm thinking it will get drawn down probably about 30,000 between the that I've already approved,
The windows.
minus the windows.
And what did we do last year, 50?
Last year I think 25 and flush.
Do we have anticipated needs, or do we think it's okay if we drop it to 25?
I think we would probably be okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to 25.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Capital reserve construction of housing, see if the town will vote the approval of 150,000 add the existing capital reserve fund. Do we have anything left after the construction?
This is complete that we money for?
Yes.
Will it complete?
Should.
Those are different.
Those are the double
Going to have to.
Double.
Will.
We
I don't know anything about construction.
Uh-oh, he's coming to the table.
So, it falls a little bit short of the overall pricing that we were looking at, but we got a lot done in the initial phase. There are things that would be neat. We don't have number. It needs to be so on and so forth. I estimate that it will come in just a little 150. That we're talking also for a number of putting any money into that capital reserve. So pretty much you're just going to put it out to where we thought we'd be to complete.
And the reason that out, did we take something else out of that account, which is why we didn't?
He built the 2 salt sheds,
Oh, that's right.
That was planned with that.
Great.
but it wasn't replenished.
Right.
to finish that building, so make a motion for the 150.
I have a motion. Have a second?
I will,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carries. To see if the town will vote to raise purchase sum of 20 reserve funds. What do we have in there now? 75.
Is this for design for the new building?
Chief, because yours. Come on.
This one I think needs, I guess, 70 in there, but you're gonna need it for.
Spent that, any of the 75?
Spent anything. All the work, I think, work at this point, which is tremendous amount, I think only 9,700 been spent on. Saw the design create, very surprised, but we anticipate more. We sure that we have enough in there if we need to do engineering or something.
And the 9,700, that was impact fees, it wasn't tax.
Oh, great. So the full set is still intact in that fund?
Yep.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carries. See if the town will vote to establish one police officer position of April 1st. Estimated annual wages, benefit, and other related costs of $101,534. To raise the sum of $73,717 wages and for the year.
The math is broken down on the following page after the warrant articles.
That's just for the year, right?
Yeah, that includes new equipment and.
How many officers right now?
Right now. Full time.
And talk us through, for our benefit and also for the listeners, about, we had an go out on military duty.
Yep.
We sort of replaced that officer, which added a position. Can you kind of talk us through how all the trickle-down impact of all those changes that we made, plus if we were added another officer?
So the goal is to have enough officers to do a couple things. Number one, safety is on 20 around the clock. One goal. With that, down from that, you're going to have a significant decrease in overtime, which I already did budget this year. By the addition of the 8th officer, I reduced the time budget by nearly $20,000. And to draw 4 budget to add an officer this year. The types of things that will allow for less hours of overtime. I most likely won't use as much or as many hours rather. My goal is time for, not that I want to let it that we have go, but as we add full, I don't need to part-timers to supplement because don't forget, we have, well, the numbers have doubled this year for police officers, and by 2025 they will have tripled. Officer by 2025 and that's what take officer out 24 hours a year. That has to be back with the officer. Add in vacation, elective training. We want our officers to go, and you've got timers to come. We have had tremendous part-time help for the year that I've been here, as well as what I hear. I don't part-time help. It's full. And when I got here, I had part-timers doing, which was very foreign to me. And none of the part-timers I have now have to give me overnight. So we had a blessing for a period of time. I've said that the agency should be a 12-hour agency, and that's going to take some there to provide necessary police services. Almost for up almost 4% over the last 5 years. So all of this requires extra. So that's really where this is coming from.
Does the DOJ have a per capita number?
Still sticking with the I number, which is 3,000. You should have patrol officers on. So if you then we're with all the developments and everything, we're going to be around 5,000 soon, right? 10 patrol officers plus a chief.
Since you've been here, we've made some consistent changes and personnel. How morale is from the day you got here to today, just in general?
I would say, stated, but it's amazing right now. The stairs on all sides, they are. We're now coming a sense, because what I do is I try to include them on what the overall general plan is for the next year, and the next 2, and the next 3. And they all see things on the horizon, and that includes making them better officers, and they're all seeing that now because a full year of training. and they're actually becoming top-notch. They're running amazing investigations. We've had investigations we've run that were forgotten in the past, and officers, we've gotten an response from victims. Gosh, I thought this was over, done. I can't believe you guys did all this work. So they're firing cylinders right now. It really, you know, it's such a, they all look out for each other, social. I having a holiday in weeks, and they're all going with family. You know, that says a lot about the group that we have. So it's great. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Karen, can you talk about the financial impact of the decision kind of off site place are when on military?
I have an officer deployed, so for those months that he's raised and approved,
But not spent.
but not spent, that would include the entire benefits package, time and benefits.
And he's expected back when?
Well, right now, January
Of
4th.
next year.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So technically, the book, we would have
9
on the
works.
books,
Yep.
but really only 8, and one that's kind of
Correct,
held for
yeah.
our deployed officers.
And don't forget, we have one going in the academy in
Right.
August. So
Right.
we'll be down to 7 patrol if we don't get this position, so, which is, you know, limit what we
Right.
can offer her.
So we'd be 8 this year, and we'd go up to 9 with that officer coming back from deployment.
Yes.
And your goal is really, had you,
Well, myself.
Right.
So it would, we're over the next, you know, I have kind of a 5-year of 12 in my first 5 years, so that's my overall plan. It changed.
reflect on that the community had to the discussions last year about safety and about not wanting fire officers to be alone and to have backup and to respond appropriately and safely. The community was very, we did a note that, did in some 6 or something like that. I think the community will likely be to support this, although money.
That was one of my questions of Brentwood
Right, I
as an
remember, you were
employee.
newly hired.
And I was very pleasantly surprised by the support that this safety, and Joe did a great job of putting it in the old, but I was like, it's amazing. So, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
And you're still working on the grant for 3 freshmen?
Yeah, I'm in a cops grant, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I checked it to see if they've released the 23. I just haven't released that grant yet.
And remember, it pays for 1 year.
Pays for
for
3
3
years.
years.
You have to have 5 years officer from. So, it's kind of a no. I mean, I any town that down and then go after.
Right.
They keep the.
If we were to get that grant, what would that be? Is it just roll?
It is, yes. Yeah.
So that would just be unanticipated revenue.
I think you'd still do the approach and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Backfill, yeah.
So it'll have to be approved, it just doesn't affect the tax base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could honestly, the approval process will be done.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I think the process, springtime, so I think the process in the middle of we're in town meeting. And I'll bring that up
Sure.
to explain that that's what we're trying to do.
Motion. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Excellent.
Any library presents?
Janice is here.
I didn't back there. Please. So our next one is reserve fund for an amphitheater, to see if to raise the amount of $200 to be added to the library amphitheater reserve fund. What's in there now?
Now it's 50,000, 50,000 minus the cost from some of the work that we've had done for plans.
Are the plans use up a significant chunk of that?
They probably will.
Right, okay, yeah, that's what my understanding.
So most of that 50 will be devoted to the plans.
Architectural planning.
Said last week was what?
Yeah.
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 Where does that 200 number put you?
Well, between that and we anticipate maybe some ARPA funds, and then our impact fees that we have right now, which I believe by the time we're ready to go on this, we're at 50. We should be able to pretty much cover costs plus on doing grant searches.
So all in less than 100?
Can you use impact?
Somewhere
fees for
between 300 and 400.
Expand the scope.
Expanding parking for
that? All right.
larger
Yeah.
size. Karen, can you speak to ARPA? I think we had, it was unclear we could use ARPA on this project because of the way we clarify that.
So the interim on ARPA funds was more restrictive on what you could use and focus more on sort of expenses as a direct result of COVID. And they changed the rules and made the final ruling. It means that if you take the standard allowance for placement, which is what the town to do, it sort of broadens what you're able to use for. It also limits it to that are in your general operating budget. So if it's not something that you would typically include in your general operating budget, then ARPA funds shouldn't be used for those funds.
Right. So we could not necessarily flesh out the with ARPA under the current regulation, sounds like.
You make a deposit into a capital reserve
Right.
for ARPA funds.
The library, like a building fund or anything that is part of our normal budget?
The regular operating budget. So all of the other town-owned buildings do, highway, all of them do, except have a specific line item for repairs, maintenance, construction, anything like that.
Is there a reason for that?
Yes. Because we started the reserve fund for building. Their fund.
Because it wasn't considered to be needed?
Yes.
Because we had another fund?
Yes.
So could we put ARPA into that building fund and help support the amphitheater project under ARPA rules, or no?
I think what Karen's saying is it can't be used for
A non-standard
Right.
budgeted item?
can't be used for infrastructure, new infrastructure, because that's not a budgeted item.
So I guess it depends how you structure your regular operating budget, but the example could use is the town housing, and the hall is an expense if the cost of that would be paid with your local budget. So it depends on sort of, I think for this board, it would depend on the scope of the project, whether you would normally include a regular budget or a warrant article.
There's a warrant article, so.
I think we
falls
would
outside of
ever,
it,
200K for all the construction, but wasn't enough to pay for the paving. Could we make a case at the newly elected board after March that we do have a line item for road construction? Could we subsidize that with ARPA to help them finish the project, or would it kind of tie our hands and we should maybe change this number to make sure it's enough for them to really build what they need to build?
I think could be making line budget, and that's labeled me, and that's it annually.
And what kind of money is in that fund in our current budget?
Usually you carry 30,000 in that line item.
Essentially supplement a regular budgetary line item.
Like Wayne has 89,000 left in his highway budget remaining at the year, so you
Yeah.
could use up to that amount.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is we would direct ARPA subsidy for this if thinking this plus impact fees, plus fundraising, plus grant is likely enough for you to move.
Yes.
Then that, so I just think if we really let, you're going to have tied and have to do another year, another warrant article, which is going to be frustrating for everybody.
Right. I will say, I have an appointment with a resident who does grant writing, and she wants to help us out. And I recently received from an architect a grant for drain water, flood water. So some of that drainage part of the project could be, if we can get that grant, could cover that. So we intend to go for that grant.
The other thing is, we can't change it, it's capital for amphitheater, but after you're done, then we have an amphitheater that's sitting, any money left in it, you're gonna be in there with this. So I was gonna say, could it be changed to amphitheater / library?
Oh, it just gets
building or
dissolved
something.
back into the.
So you feel forwarding meeting, this is going to be enough to not stall the project and to be able to move forward in 23?
That is anticipated, but our,
It's going to take,
of about 100, 125 of ARPA. So that is part of that plan.
do you get this, that the project could be done in phases? That if there is,
Yeah.
if there's instances, we could do a first wave, a second wave?
We could, yes. We could put in the infrastructure for the lighting and then eventually add that on. And there are some other places. We've already talked to the architect about that.
Okay, and we had talked about it last meeting, could we do safety, a safety first step with the money if we don't have money to build, at least to remove the community that's there?
Yeah, we have to be careful because if we spend temperatures, we're going to spend money on things out.
Have to be,
It
yeah,
would be wasted, in
Yeah.
fact. So we prefer to go that route. However, we're also looking at, we've already pulled some things out of the plan, and we have intentions of talking to the planner about some other things that are in there. They have tables and chairs and waste receptacles and things that we think we can easily get from the community and or those go to places might want to give donations. So it's really for the nuts and bolts, creating a safe space that will, serve the town for years to come.
Okay. I will make a motion for the 100,000 for the care fund.
Okay.
Moved and seconded. Any further? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you.
And I must apologize for my but you will be linking again.
Oh, thank you.
Chief Bird? To see if the town will vote to raise the appropriate of $1,000 to be added to the existing fire vehicle replacement.
Standard one that goes on every year,
Yep.
motion.
What's in
Costs
it
a lot
now?
of money.
240? I think is what you
Don't
told
new
me
fire
the
trucks
last time.
cost like
$1
Yeah.
now. We need to be worried.
Yeah, that'll pay for the front tires.
Right, the front third of the fire truck will get paid for. I think it's like or something. I think we did 50, didn't we?
Yeah, the last one we got, how old is that?
The oldest truck right now,
No,
the newest is a 2010.
Bought that with Kevin.
Those were both Kevin's.
so yeah, so you got. the newest
Actually,
is
you're
12
looking
years
at,
old.
you should be looking at one coming up this year to keep it on the plan. I take that back, 14 is the newest. Yeah, every 10
14.
years.
So. yeah,
Every
it's
10 years you're looking
24. Next year, they're looking at a warrant article for.
They'll be looking,
we should do something. And you're looking,
Start looking at grants.
well, again, when you go through, they do with the firefighter grants and these, so forth, they're coming up against the dilemma. Don't want to keep running. You're appropriating, looking at trucks years from now before they even come out of, before they even come out of the manufacturer. So they're playing around with the grants right now. So anything you can get pretty much instantaneous is what the grants are going to. So
220.
that was close.
You better motion.
Seconded, any further discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Anybody opposed? So this would actually work for funds because we would normally buy out of the general operating budget. But this, the town will vote to raise a sum of $68,000, 50 portable radios, mobile radios, equipment installation. Not just for you too.
It doesn't include highway, doesn't include the PD.
Way was gonna use your old stuff, right?
The highway was still looking at the mobiles. So the coming trucks, you're gonna put boaties in. They don't repair them anymore. If they, and the way things have gone with two-way, if they take them out, it may not survive the coming out of the truck, never mind putting it into another one.
An impact.
For
Yeah.
Be an impact.
in that fund,
In that,
But-
use it for the bond.
right,
Oh, yeah.
station that you're saying for.
That's a kind of an eye-popping total for radio. It's more, it's more than Chief Ventura's human body.
Well,
It's like, whoop.
yes, they are. Got two different,
Do you have your radio right there, Chief, on you? Your portable?
Oh, it's like, yes, I know.
That's
and
25,000.
These are at 2,900.
Yeah, I know, it's just like, it's eye-popping how expensive they are.
I mean, that's for the Motorola. We did quote the Motorola for Joe and his.
you don't wanna know what the
was
Motorola
worse?
quote
His
was.
Motorola's were 5,000.
Oh,
The Motorola.
Quotes that I got are through, which is out of Nashville, and two-way over in New England. Sonic is, would, the Motorola is, the two-way Motorola. You can
and Chief, just for us to understand the request, this is your opinion?
The
would like to
portables,
have-
the four radios that were being in the trucks, like I just explained, they literally told them in a box, they would ship them to Motorola, you can them back. The portables, the majority of the portables, better than 10 years old, they're getting technology upgrades, so forth and so on, and Motorola has got a habit of, at some point, here we are, we're just not producing the parts anymore. I can't get batteries for these portables right now, they're Motorola bought them that way. Same.
Feel you've lived along as is safe to do? We stall this too.
I've started doing maintenance on them, and I'm dropping one or two out there, and depending on how the maintenance, they might, how longer the ones that are in, actually probably well out their lives, to be honest with you. The pole make a beat, they're in build, we're dropping, you know, it's a tough item. So, I think, no, I went through a grant, turned around for the grant, as Ann said, radio priority place, and came up, presented, but I think it's the time to do it.
One of the things I have is there's a NASPO, New Hampshire State Bid Pricing.
Yeah,
Contracts.
that cut it 60 grand. He's got the state bid from
That's on
Kenwood.
Beltronics, but.
You
Yeah,
don't
on
have,
Motorola.
no, because Kenwood is the state bid. I've talked to
Only one company.
state bid,
Okay.
so you've
they
got a
give us-
40, you had a 40 scrap before that was even there. Concord PD, gone to the, about 3 years. They've had problems with the Wilton fire, swapped over to Kenwoods. I've actually got a couple of Kenwoods in my ambulances at the moment, in my engine. Do that, and then back to Motorola, the area that's solar, and I think out of the dig in, it's a little high, $5,000 if you want to pay Motorola name.
Right. And to give up your $60,000 state bid rebate.
And so, just as aware, Motorola is at $271,045.99 compared to installation and everything else for $166,768. You're looking for $168 just to have.
Just have a bit of a question. I talked to him this afternoon. I probably got the installation a little heavy, but he's built in a 15% increase because as of March 1st, was told even Kenwood's 15%. So he's built that in. He was going to be so there shouldn't be.
Number 50, did you go with a truck or?
With one for every member of the department. I think everybody should have one, especially in a building. When you do structural firefighting, and then you've got people that are on call, and the rock does communicate with everybody, and then I put in the truck, have one into the truck, and that'll give me about 5 on the other end that are sitting kind of for spares or something to that effect. I carry 2 myself at the moment. In command car, you could put a third and still wouldn't have enough, hence they have somebody pull up. Operations are now getting spread out. You know, I have myself and talking to Rock, because Rock doesn't want to communicate on the same channels and shouldn't be when you're running a fire type of thing. You've got at least 3 different channels operating, and like I said, the car, if I had it to go over again, would have a 3rd radio on that one. Just the cooperation we have among group people, and they'll show the car and be out. So that's the direction, that's the way up with the number. There's more people have them now, or carrying them. And that's, even if you would, the interior guys would definitely have a radio. You just, with these days, get line of all over the place, and the first thing they look at and where with people, how your accountability.
I believe a warrant article should go to the floor. I'm going to make a motion.
Second. Moved and seconded. All. Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Chief.
The next page is all of just the exemptions and credits that you voted on last week, so they're typed out so you can see how they'll be laid on the warrant.
Already voted.
You already voted. Only ones that I added are ones that actually we have to put on, so the options credit, veterans credit, we need to have motions for them to be readopted. A statute this year, and you readopt, and then, so the ones to readopt, and
Oh, okay. Instead of just one.
yeah. was the only that he did.
The radio, or the,
The next item is ARPA.
which we talked about a little bit already.
Yes, so. I talked to Karen about giving us a tax impact of if we removed ARPA funds from payroll increases and fire department, using them to offset a capital reserve, capital project. Comes to find out we can't anyways. How much do we say we're gonna zero
John,
in our pack?
you voted on $120,000 to be, so 100,000 towards writers, 86 legal expenses, and 35 towards costs.
Karen, could you say those again? It's a little hard to hear back there.
100,000 for full-time firefighter, 86,000 for salary, and 30,000 towards health insurance,
What was the total again?
221,000.
And that ended up being about half of what we had for ARPA, or a little bit less, right?
Ended
A
up with
little bit less than
179,
that,
We
right?
had
472.
472.
So I thought you had like a balance like
After you've used the 149.
Already used.
You've, towards full-time firefighter, you'll use 60 this year, and 14 project
Sure.
management fee.
Yep.
So. Figure out a tax on 200,000. Saves.
So with funds, it would be a tax of estimated at 40 cents or $160 annually on a $400,000 home. And if you do not use ARPA funds, it would be 72 cents and 288,000. And yes, oh, yeah, sorry.
we're all moving.
Just give all your money.
The difference, I took the 2020 operating budget and then I added in the firefighter article. And other note, I compared the 23 operating budget, because this is staff items which are in this budget.
And just to be clear, I know there's some people in town who had said it's better to use our one-time fee so that everybody understands sort of one-time money. But under the town accepted ARPA, the only way we do that is if we did for those and didn't use capital reserve, which traditionally is not how we do things in Brentwood. When we have a new build or something for the voters and put it as a warrant article.
Correct.
So if we did no ARPA, we would just be holding that money for another year and have to use it the following year to drop. So taxes would go up a lot this year and then maybe down next year, right? So I guess I'm just like confused about why we would even consider not using this money to help with some of our general government operations.
By portable.
True, yeah, I mean, but it's
Because
like.
I
want in on that.
So true, right, so you could say, okay, it doesn't really matter what you use it for, we're
Right.
just using it for general function. So we just picked these because we felt that some of the health insurance and the payroll was sort of COVID related, and so it felt kind of natural to use it. So if we were to use it for the radios, we would have to pull the warrant article out and put it into our budget, or we could just use it.
No, you could, so you would pull the ARPA funding out of the general operating budget and you would just state it as the operating expense.
Oh, okay. So when we
$5.5
propose
million.
the warrant, we would say it had zero taxes.
I
because
don't even, warrant article, it's,
It
we
have
would
to.
normally buy
Right.
radios out of the,
Right. It would only
We'd
have to be
adjust
if
it though,
we're
right?
going to raise and appropriate some of the money and use our for
Oh,
a
right.
portion of the funds.
So if you have $100,000, use is looking for 168, you say, I just, dollars is a warrant article
Right.
for radio, the rest I'm gonna.
Yep. Wouldn't we have to read it and put that into the budget?
No, because that would just be, that's the.
Radio per thing you would normally handle.
I know.
And
I mean,
you
it's
could
sort of-
actually approve a whole amount, because we have money left over
Yeah.
afterwards.
It's sort of, I mean, I think what voters to is like, it doesn't really matter what we spend this money on, because every dollar is a dollar that would have to otherwise be raised in taxes, whether it's for radio, library, whether it's health insurance, all equivalent impact on voters and town, right? It's just,
And we
So-
have to accept it, so
yeah,
Right,
if
so
we
you
don't
have to-
use it.
we have to give it
We only have
back.
a certain time that we can use it.
Yeah,
for,
of
so.
course we're gonna use it,
Which is
so,
why they won't allow you to have reserve.
And I think the idea is that because you use it for a continuing expense, years ahead, that 32 cents doubled next
Sure.
year. So this year, up 40 cents, but that 32 cents is gonna be seen on next year's tax bill. So 70-cent increase, now you have a $1
Yep.
increase. I think comment and
okay, right, and we'd still have money over that we were gonna use next as well. So that's some, but yeah, we knew either do it. The same argument that we're gonna pay for radios now, and there's gonna be, else, you know, all of these things reoccur. Doesn't matter how we do it. Simplifying, use already earmarked, plus the addition, just change what you're using ARPA for. I'm a little confused which one you're suggesting.
I wasn't suggesting, just
Okay.
saying, if we wanted to use it for a time thing, pull the 109, put it, and
Oh, sure.
add the 30,000
And it would have
to the
the
radios and just
exact
buy
same
the
tax on the people in town, it would be the same. Yeah. Either way, it's fine with all, it all the same way.
This, what we really have it, the town vote down the radio,
Yep.
not see that additional.
Correct. Uh-oh, Karen just, I think.
You notice how much the fire chief moved to help.
He was calling on his radio for help.
The radio doesn't work.
I can't go into call.
And he's using one that doesn't have a battery.
It's just basically, do you use the government function or use it for the radios? And either way, it's the same impact.
Learning that it can't be a capital improvement project makes
Makes it easier.
easier.
So either one's fine with me,
Yeah.
because the impact's the same.
Don't worry, we asked the fire chief to go save you, but
He said no.
His radio.
Your concern that big price for those radios is at town, and it might just make more sense for us to make that more palatable by sort of tying our, because every have to pay health insurance, these other things. This sort of an extra cost that might just be the optic be more palatable, even though the sort of impact is the same.
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot.
One way, you're right, it's,
Pay me now. pay me
right.
Right, all the same dollars. I'd be okay. I mean, if you feel like that's allowed under the rules and then not have to put that warrant article out,
I think
then it just has to go up.
So no warrant article.
Makes sense,
we're
right?
not there yet.
Yeah,
Cost of that is go up, which is
yeah,
what we're trying to mitigate.
I would rather stay the course.
I
mean,
keep it as a warrant article, let's see what happens.
Let's ask the town what they wanna do about the radios. It has to do with fire and safety, or, you know, town safety, and, you know, we can't just pay for the highway or
Right.
pay for a new police, like.
Right.
Uh,
I think a lot of the discussion revolved around the amphitheater, which made sense.
and I agree, that there's some logic there, but is like
Where-
where we're at.
Good.
So just leave it be.
So we're seeing the 221 budget warrant article.
We initially discussed it,
We are
Yeah.
status quo.
just, give us some extra revenue, pay for general business. Taxes from 72 to 40. So it does give some, the citizens money for.
To spend money on radios if they.
Okay.
Right. Communications Committee. Jen? I'm giving you all
Me?
yours.
That's not me. All the community.
Communications has
Have
made-
people in the room. Who- We have the chair here.
Come on down.
There's two of us tonight.
We got Josh.
Back up.
Yeah. He's,
Have a seat.
oh, good, all right, we're both so we on the committee have been meeting 6 or 7, and a lot of holistic communication in town. We are coming back to the website being the first source of information. So we have kind of a two-part presentation. And the first part is just to kind of give you guys, well, I think material. Guys, Josh is going to talk about where in research and kind of find.
Sure. Packet called website redevelopment. After evaluating what current website offers its drawbacks and just some of the currently have site, we decided to go out to a few vendors and at potential options. The goal is to make sure that we can get information out to the town in a timely manner, improve the function of the website to make sure that staff actually could use the site, understand what they're publishing, make it we also wanted to look at things like making the site ADA vision impaired could be able to use the site. There are people that are from using our site today because it is so anti. We also have some goals under the scope to bring it into the 21st century, make a website also be from which today, if you the Brentwood website is almost impossible to navigate through it. We wanted to make it something that you can find information easily and that was secure. Also allowed us to have kind of unified town's website. We have websites from the library to the rec center, fire to the police department are all independent websites. The goal would be to unify all those sites under a vendor platform so that we have a common look and feel, ability to find the information. We ended up to 4 new vendors. The first one being they're probably the well-known vendor in the space. They bought up a lot of smaller companies that do municipal website design. They are also the most expensive. So you'll see at the top the one-time fee just for a small municipal through them, $15,000, $25,000, and custom using their templates out of the box. Recurring anywhere from $8,000 per year for most towns that use Civic. Epping is one, Fremont's another. So they do have a lot of uptime. A lot of organizations use them. They're easy to use. They're expensive. So stay more frugal into what the town of Brentwood find palatable. We did look at some other sites as well. There's Town Web out there, more adopted on the West Coast as a vendor. They had a 1,000 with a hosting charge of around $100 a year. There's also Town Club, which is out there, kind of more of a into this. Their whole deal is to offer municipal website service, and they really like to make it easy, small, and online. Startup cost hosting fee of around $2,000, but shoots up rapidly if you want to have more users of the system. We're trying to make it so that each department has their own user account so that things are secure. You know, if you have private minutes that have been sealed, another department can't go in and read your private minutes. That's not something Town Cloud does out of the box without additional fees. And then we came across Municipal, which pass around two proposal packets. Take a look at. Municipal one, that kind of of what we were looking from a website vendor. They're $5,500. That's a complete review consultation with the town. Then they have a fee of around $100 a year for hosting. Hosting support. It also includes the ability to do things like email notifications to residents. It includes the ability to post the agendas and minutes. Online processing is included for free as part of Municipal. Also get the grant permissions that the town is looking for. There are some additional add-ons that they also bundle in for free, like making polls and surveys available through the website that you can add and publish for residents to use. And the last thing that was nice about Municipal, they do offer a package, social media information. So when you post to the website, it can also be posted to the Facebook accounts. You're not duplicating. Fee that I talked about, the $28 a year town package. What we are proposing is that we also deal with the rec needs as part of this. Out of all the town departments, rec needs from non-processing facilities that they'd like to find, program science, management of the programs, and accounting. An additional $2,800 a year for that activity registration component. However, we are looking into some other vendors that we could bolt on to this that may come in cheaper. One is called Easy Facility, that we actually have a meeting coming up on Friday afternoon with them. So we've had meetings with these vendors at least once, not twice, talk about their capabilities and offerings. So all that said, we're not that you have to go with Municipal One, but we are acting as a recommendation committee that we do budget for up to $1,000 time set expense with it. As right now, approximately $5,000, which would the town website hosting as well as a rec package that could be bolted on, and that's the upper limit that we'd be looking for. So that's the recommendation as a committee for the town website.
We're running it to you, and if you at all would get it in and running, I think we talked 6-month timeline. We could have a date. If that's how you want to go, this is kind of where we're at, and we would research and get, even numbers. And so this is a sign of what we're looking at.
Popped out to me real quick was 25 gig.
Yes.
Reports, the minutes, that's not a whole lot of space.
Wondering about that too.
So this is for PDFs and attachments. You can buy space through Municipal. I don't have the cost of what that additional space would be. I have a meeting with them following week to discuss that.
John, how many gig do you think the town report would be? Do you know?
I don't think the town report would be if it's.
I think that's why
You're probably
now.
gonna get
They are-
5
they are in
meg
there.
in the PDF.
They don't fit.
If it's, I think
Enough.
you'll probably need more, but I don't know. It doesn't sound unreasonable. It's usually not that expensive. Again, neither our websites don't cost $30,000.
Right. And don't we, wasn't our budget now, I'm remembering like 1,700
In the IT
Month?
budget, it's 17 here.
a year? Okay. That's all we pay now, 1,700 a year?
It's expensive.
That was just for hosting.
And support.
Tech-
We have a lot.
Tech is just for support.
Well, now you have time set up 6, right? And 28,
Yeah, but like-
2,900 basically. is-
But like you're talking like ADA compliance, email notification,
Payment, payments,
like RSS
Stuff we
feeds,
don't have,
polls
yeah.
and survey, like
text notifications.
text, like it's light years ahead of.
Oh, I agree.
And it has a calendar. on it,
It's
which
not
is
just
nice.
hosting.
The
Yeah.
calendar is nice because you can have trash and everything else on there too.
The other thing you get with
Yeah.
these contracts is like, I'll take municipal one for example. If you look at page 5, bottom, some of these packages offer refreshes. So the town website has been built for refreshed and its feel. This would be every months, brand new design that rolls out on top of that.
I saw in one, I didn't calculate the numbers. They have that $4,600 for just straight fee for 5 years. You guys, is there the same
It's the
5-year plan?
yeah.
Talking about, cost for this. Could we use impact? Do we
This
have
is
it?
More expanded than what we have. We would have this in the town office impact account.
Okay.
The whole
15.
I believe so. Let me go check.
So I don't know if you all caught that, but municipal one in that big packet at the 5-year lock-in plan.
That's a little less expensive.
It's the same.
It's
But you
like
guarantee the
tiny
price
bit
won't increase
less
5 years.
expensive, but you're
Gotcha.
locking in your price, and they also have an option where you don't pay as much upfront one time, but you over the 5
So-
years.
So your contract is $11,000 right up front, plus
Oh, yeah.
the
56.
app registration.
Got
Registration, if you did, if the contract dollars, 5-year contract lock for $2,900 annually, but then the 5-year level payments
Here it is.
is, can we do a 5-year level payment as a board, or is that
Just
a
do
5-year
the
contract?
one-time impact.
That's interesting, because that is
Oh, yeah.
Four-
that-
4 or 5.
Instead of
having
upfront
11,000.
costs.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And you still get that.
And given that we have coming election and tax have ongoing impacts with their time limit, pay for that 5 level payment.
Yeah, and I guess we'd have to, and they just, the activity registration.
Yes. Yep.
What is the registration?
It's basically booking and rentals, so Andy wants to be able to rent out like the top or the bottom floor of the rec center or the
I mean,
pavilion area.
Maybe rec, maybe we could start with rec. or-
Does REC pay a separate website fee, or is that in our 1,700?
They're included in ours.
It's included, okay.
Proportionally, that sounds disproportionate.
It does, yeah.
What?
Yeah, to pay $2,000 to book seems like kind of a lot.
Seems like a lot.
I think the biggest time saver for him, though, would be the program registrations.
Right, yeah, that seems like that would probably be worth
That's
it.
very
'cause-
labor intensive for him.
Yep.
That's fine.
Well, and the good thing too is you could actually, I like the fact that they integrate the calendar feature in there, so if he has a calendar option on his thing, he can say, well, I need this on this date. Hey, look, it's available. I can
Yeah.
book it.
Well, plus the calendar option would be to be able to post meetings more than.
Yes,
Right, right.
it'd be really nice.
Karen, what are your thoughts?
I like this website, like that we had looked at. I haven't seen the back end, so I would want to do a demo. I think from the user, it looks and easy to navigate, and the sort of middle of the road of the ones that we had looked at.
It's better than
Civic Plus, and from a user point, it's very easy to use. It's clean, it's like
Very high premium for that. Yeah. So what this communications committee probably needs from us is just sort of a preliminary mission to investigate agreement. I don't know for that, but it sounds like we have an agreement to move forward. And then this would just come to us an impact fee, just for a regular meeting. It's
And
not
we would definitely
budgetary.
come back with more details. We're trying to find the exact combination to
Right,
make
'cause
sure we're, budget, but frugal.
Yeah, I
As-
mean, I
as
love
frugal as
the
we can be.
idea,
Yeah.
especially I just can't believe that our website doesn't have a good calendar where you can a day and see every meeting and sports event, rec thing. I just think if we could, that in and of itself to me would be so helpful.
Even just
for
finding
us.
trash.
Everything.
Recycle day.
Like today, I'm like looking out my window.
Less phone calls and
And-
camera.
And we all look at it as a user on the user end, but in talking with Karen and Andy, the amount of time they're spending on this current
On the back
website.
end.
There's a lot of his time going in, an alarming amount of his time trying to use the site. And if you free up, he said 40 hours every quarter, he's spending trying to.
So there's really all that,
Yeah.
revenue impact.
Yeah, so,
$2,800 well spent.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Can we ask Janice for her input as
Sure.
one of the directors in town?
Hi, yeah, so actually what I was gonna say was the space concerns. I don't know if you are familiar, but UNH has done has a program where they have actually put all of our annual reports going back to the 1800s on their site, and linked it on our website. You could actually to that maybe edition, but then the name will change. So just so you know that
All towns,
opted into it. and
wow,
that is one of them.
wow. That news.
Yes, yeah, and if you go to our website under resources, you'll, if you want to check.
And Janice, would you think you would want to come under this website or maintain a separate library website? Have you guys even thought about that yet?
I was looking, we'd have to just some thought.
Yeah, TBD.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we could have some independence with it, I think it would.
Cool. Thank you for all the hard work, obviously, that went into
Yeah.
this from a volunteer
Yeah.
committee. That's really so wonderful. And we hear, I remember when I first joined the board, we got some emails that was like, please fix the website. People from economic development saying it makes a huge impact of your first view of the town. You go on that website and you can't find what you're looking for in the first 5 minutes and you just completely. So I think this is going to be a huge benefit to the town for communications, but just in general for representation and the town.
Say, get with police, fire, library, do a demo, figure out what everybody, see what current space used is. Gig is enough, or and come back with, and everybody good with year,
Yeah, I would do 5
Seems
years.
to economically make the most
The
sense
flat fee, the 4,000.
instead of upfront costs.
Does it sound like we can haggle?
So I have a meeting with him, come down 10,000 to the 1,000 price that I put in here.
Nice job, Josh.
So I'll keep pushing. I can't promise. But
You want me to? He might be doing it for free. I'll blow up his phone.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Especially for 5 year, you could just say, we're 5 year.
5 year plus the activity, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
That's a big, so.
And said we were on the fence about him, so we can go back to him and talk about the registration. We also want to make sure that we have this with easy facility or cost option for rent portion of this. So
Probably integrate with this
yes,
platform.
we'd be able to integrate.
Cool, thank you.
And then did you guys want to talk about, we had kind of you with, you know, the
Yep.
newsletter topic kind of really merges into the topic
Right,
in
and
some
that's why
ways.
we want to talk about that first,
Yeah.
because I think it would allow for a lot more communication options. But, so we have sort of three options that we talked about, and I am going to group because twice in one, Karen stayed till 9. We a lot of time on this, so everybody worked really hard on it. So the first option is expand the notices fee. This would be an immediate change that could, or adjustment that could happen, where we use the news feed that is on the homepage right now. There's also a button to its own page, and so we would just clean it up just a little bit, but allow parents to post updates on a needed basis. Karen or designated person would be responsible for publishing the news notices feed, or if possible, we could adjust permissions to allow multiple people, which we'd have to find that out. And then if anybody needed a printable format of that news feed, we can just print it and have copies available. And then the cost that's included, and unless something in the permissions, which we out before.
That's like where Daphne snippets about like the election is coming up and like all those little like news feeds. Okay.
Yeah. The next option is there's sort of scenarios for a bulletin. Work with our website, turn on this feature, which I know a lot of us have. So that notices talked about, to note, subscribers would potentially receive multiple emails because you would just get emails, I think, shot at you as updates. So consider. Also include monthly fee. Sort of that's plan A. Sort of plan B to use a vendor that would update the email to, and the possibility of using the feed feature, which is available on our website currently. It potentially could and create emails, and using a vendor would allow for frequency, so you could weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, or things kind of needed to get out. There's a cost, $29 to $70 for up to 1,000 users. If you have something like Mail or Light, they do have like for free. I think up to 1,000 you can do for free. And then only if we our current web is $8 a month, we'll probably to make sure the details are correct on that. The third plan there is to create a PDF document that would be available to download from the website. We need a little bit more direct on would to have encompass. Option 3 would be a published printed where you count updates published and delivered by residents to residents by mail, and a very estimate of $15,000. We definitely need more information direction to incorporate that. And then along with our conversations about all of this, we'd really like you guys to consider that, to parameters of the existing skill sets and availability of staff members, and consider the impact on staff and potential volunteer assistance.
Steph, can you describe what the RSS feed automation means?
Maybe.
I'm not techno savvy enough to know what
Josh
that
is
means.
definitely cool.
The back ends of the database, right, will put out a feed that basically you can subscribe to, and it will have the title of those news snippets. One of these vendors that feed automatically, and then generate an email out to people when that feed is created. So essentially
with just
it
like a
curates
clickable
it.
link, or you would come to?
You would get a link from the body, if you'd see a portion of the body with a link that would take you to the website.
Oh, okay,
When
so
you
you would get an
receive
email like, Daphne has posted an update on the Brentwood
Exactly.
page, click here to read, like something like
Yes.
that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, with a headline that says,
It's
cycle day, election.
Or dog
Oh.
licensing or.
Exactly. yeah.
Okay, but it wouldn't contain information in the body of it, it would click you to the website.
Not
read
how
it.
to work with the vendor.
Oh, okay. Sort of as a way to feed back to the website.
So
And with
it's
this-
a push data, then
Right.
wait for people to pull it.
If we're gonna move to a new website in the near future, new something, probably
Similar and
better.
It'd be integrated.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I'm looking at the municipal one, and it's, the email notifications included, so where you can even do also.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's, you can use it, or they have even an emergency package that you can work with your emergency department to use it for texting alerts and things like
That's
that.
really good for
Yeah.
Rich Murphy.
Oh,
Electricity's out.
And that
Yeah.
could
Crews
just,
are in the
Then
area.
go to your cell phone.
Yeah.
so for anybody who had signed up for town text, oh, okay, okay, interesting. This is like compared to our. I know, so, sometimes there's discussions about sort of what's the vibe in Brentwood in terms of how savvy, average resident, what's the communication of feeling, what's the best way to get information in sort of a time, regular fashion, residents? Are going to be okay? Email, text, feeds, or is there a real desire for something
Well,
printed in hand?
I think it gives choices. I think most people know how to use it. Going back to the website.
Gotcha.
Anyone can go onto the website. If they don't want to get email, they don't have to, it's all there. If they don't want to get text messages, they don't have to. So that's, keep going back to the website as being able to get information.
User friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense because it's really up change, so
Mhm.
it's a paper document once a week or once a quarter, potentially inaccurate by the time it goes from the town.
And,
Okay.
and do the sites that you guys are looking at, municipal one, same thing as that RSP?
It-
Please, like, if some,
If they're opted in or they're subscribed.
Yeah, it would definitely make it easier on their end because they can do Facebook probably.
And just
Potentially, we ask, but that would
Just
be nice.
being devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that we have, that probably does 80% of the solution, right? But I do think that there's probably a good 20% of people in the town that we should be thinking about who are not gonna go on the
Web
website.
surfing,
They're
yeah.
not gonna subscribe to an RSS feed or an automatic push,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
MailChimp, what? Like, that's not gonna happen. And so I think,
what was the other one, Mail something?
Miller Lite.
Mailer Lite.
Mailer Lite.
Yeah.
Mailer Lite.
I can't remember that.
It's carbs.
Well, I just do have to be aware of that and address it. Forget about it.
And that's something, the ability to a site that,
Mhm.
and if she's putting, or any of the departments putting information in, it's centralized, and now, Karen or somebody else can go in and print that and have copies available at the, here, at the library.
I'd love, I think that's great. I'd also love to have the sign up or
Yeah.
call into you or on the and get a
Well, and
a printed
if there was,
bulletin
I think
monthly.
the one we're looking at has, so you find out who really needs a printed version and.
Need to be able to go.
Well,
Well, no,
okay,
but they can
okay.
also,
Yeah.
They could, if they go into the library, they could say, hey,
can you help? They could,
Mhm.
when they come in,
yes, that would be easily.
And we could,
know what they
yeah.
Even if there's like a, a calendar graphic, even just have those printed that they pick up, because put it on their fridge, especially if it's a visual calendar. I think that might be.
Jim, they'll look like, I have a couple organizations, letters out via constant contact.
Yep.
That's another option.
So is that the same type of thing?
Technology offering, yeah.
And the option one can start now without a new website, so that's,
Right.
yeah, it's immediate.
Big cognizant of staff.
Yes.
And part of the ask,
Thoughts?
I think option one would be fine. Still have to work with the vendor to do the tweaks, because right now when you click on the news and announcement page, it's the preview, and for that page you put in the form so that they can see the full post. That's going to be applications, but I've already reached out to them. They said they're happy to do that, and that will be little to no
and that would
cost
just
there.
be a temporary fix until we get a new website.
Yep.
It takes them weeks. Approximately.
14 weeks to once you really start.
3 months.
And then we added to for
Hiccups.
Go live,
just
have a demo.
if we're gonna help at all to collect information, or if you guys, they kind of got to figure out what all needs to, what level. And they
So part of the ask is the BudCom reduced the newsletter down to $1 just to hold up place. So part of the ask was, for any of these, is there a amount that your committee would be looking to back in it or to facilitate any for the next year as the new website coming up?
I think so. This one is no cost. A digital bulletin, if you wanted to start it, it might be confusing if we're actually going to website. It may not be why start one, start a second. So, no.
Yeah. The thing is, a mailed option,
print.
you're gonna want to save postage at some
Well,
point.
I did-
but-
Like, not to everybody.
No, I'm
people
just
that
saying,
sign
like,
up,
yeah.
So in terms of, do you need to put some paper or print costs to allow for some of that wiggle room of if some people need town
Karen
info
has
printed?
thoughts.
I don't think option one is gonna be a mailable thing.
Doesn't sound,
I
not
agree.
easily, no. What do you think, Karen?
I think if we're going to do a printed and mailed version to residents, that seems time intensive for someone to in the list, update the list, and ensure that it's correct and accurate with property transfers.
I think if
That
you have the
seems,
printouts here, something like great, or a library.
Or even if there's a way to engage with our site vendor, what's easily, can you print the calendar? Can you print the what's new page? Like a little packet for tech savvy. I'm assuming that some of that is probably easily printable, so we would just have paper, across like print thing.
I think the list is super easy. I think it's more to get worries.
and there's little tweaks that he's working on the calendar. Like I can't put a recurring event on the calendar, so that I add dates on the calendar on the website.
Gotcha. Presumably,
Update that we're working on.
yeah, exactly. This is why Steph's like, website like tomorrow.
So that's why we get so many calls about trash. Home news, people want to look on the calendar, is it recycling? And it's just not there.
Yeah, the website now is not for.
Yeah. If we get to the point, let's say we have a new website up and running by sometime later this year, and we do identify that there's some sort of like modified printable pickup at the library, town hall. Want to see any money for to any line? Do you think we could just absorb that in other budget
Probably just initially, I don't see that.
and then split it out over the year? So just leave it at hold a place for it if we need it in the future. Fine.
Make a motion to reopen the budget?
We don't,
Yes,
think-
Be in line.
to modify.
oh,
So
because we never
Oh, yeah,
changed
right.
it.
first, we should have expand the feed of the website.
Motion?
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. I'll take a motion to open the general budget.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, open the general budget.
Thank you.
Motion, the town letter from 4,018 to 17,575 round.
$2.
Do I have it? I'll second it. Moved and seconded. New bottom line being 9,978? No. Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
That's the only
Motion
one we had?
carries. Huh?
That's the only one we had?
That's the only one we didn't match.
Okay, perfect.
Do you want to keep this, or do you want to change the
Communication.
communication or something to broaden it some more?
Yeah.
I mean, just-
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Do we need
Sure.
to change the 52 from town news to town?
Can we label?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody?
The chair of the budget committee, may have something to say. I just don't know if we missed anything. Wow.
How would you be funding the website if you only have $1 in that line item?
This is a different line.
That would be impact.
Impact fund?
Impact dollars. So
Impact
we have-
fees is gonna,
It's a new,
We have a line item for website. Item.
but anything, the impact dollars would basically be used for the new website. At this point, it's new.
yes.
To relabel the government line that currently is called town newsletter, to label it as town and put $1.
Bob Stevens isn't here.
Okay.
Do you want to do that
Bob, give us the.
Yeah.
Slips or no?
information?
So bump.
I'm gonna, Daphne, come on down. I'm gonna turn it over to you for a second.
Okay.
What can I?
I'll be right
Okay.
back. You guys dog notice.
All right, Dog. I think that's.
What
Is this your question, I think?
Oh,
I suspect that's what.
it would be nice if the chief was here for this conversation.
Are you anticipating getting ready?
Oh.
Okay.
Licenses?
I was like, my dog. Kidding me?
It might get rough.
Jeez.
No, because he is involved in dog license enforcement.
I received multiple complaints about officers showing up to people's homes without any notice being given without any specific direct notice being given prior to a police showing up. I understand the perspective that everyone understands if they have a dog to get the shots and register it with the town, and they have until X date, that those people that neglect to do that get one notice to to their home before a police officer shows up in a cruiser to collect those fees.
He doesn't collect the fees when
Give notice.
So it's posted on the website. It is posted in Facebook multiple times at the beginning of the year. It's also on people's registration renewals. So I'm not really sure at what point. I also was getting a notice in December tax bill to a house. At
Well,
what
that was my
point?
question. Could it go on the tax bill? I thought that came out.
Well, it can't go on the tax bill,
But on
no. This had been, I did not do that this,
Oh, it was like an
because it's a
insert,
waste,
right?
yes. It was a waste. Because what I hear is, I don't open my tax bill, I didn't look at the notice, I have no idea, blah, 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 blah. So I understand people's frustration, I do, it is a law, it's not a Brentwood law. At some point, the responsibility of the dog owner, but I also, no one comes to me and says anything. I understand going to you, but you should send them to me so I can discuss it with them. It is by statute, exactly, dates and everything.
I'm not agreeing with one thing that you're saying, but I feel extremely strongly about this. That before we use police officer pay who make a lot of money, even more now this year. But aside from that, it's not really a money issue. I feel strongly about this personally, but I also feel on behalf of constituents. They get a personal direct notice prior to enforcement officer.
Just for people
Who have failed to
some deadline,
pay.
no deadline.
Yeah.
It's the same people too, like
Yeah.
year after year.
Ever done that before, where we did a
Yes.
reach out? Did it work?
No, that's why I don't bother. It's a waste of my time, it's a waste of the girls' time in my office, it's a waste of postage. And the police officers are super kind when they go out. They are super kind, and and half the
Used to
time,
be control and they.
yeah, the animal control officer to go. At some point, it's like, I don't know how much more hand-holding I can do, and I understand you feeling strongly about it, certainly. But there's,
Those people who didn't respond to the initial deadline, didn't respond when you sent them a letter, then the police officer goes, and then what happens?
sometimes they still don't respond.
And then
Police officer again, and then they get very upset. And the police officer
what's
will
the
go
end
out.
result of continuing
The end result will be
non-payment?
you go to court.
You go to court.
It's
Okay.
a civil forfeiture.
How
And
often
that's all
does
by
that
statute.
happen for?
It has actually, this past time, we had 2 people that were supposed to go to court, and then they
I know.
So just to finish up, I feel if someone receives a specific, hey, if they get that notice in the mail and that door knocks, tough.
yeah.
But I do think that specific is because I think that everyone's on the same page. It is, right? It's dollars or whatever it is. It's getting the shots. And so another perspective is, why is a police officer coming knocking my door for a $6 thing? Like, okay, I forgot it. Yes, sorry, my fault. But that I think sending them a postcard is not.
How late?
Appreciate that.
Like how many people miss? Is it cards? Is it 50?
Like 300. It's like 300 postcards.
And a lot of those people then come in and pay. Only 2 people go to court. So most are in over a couple months and pay it when they.
So I think with the town Facebook page and our new RSS feed, that those notices go out via that.
Like,
Be like, these are due.
let's just like put this in perspective. The town clerk's office doesn't want to send a card.
I didn't say I didn't want
To send, we're going to send a uniformed police officer in a cruiser to 300 homes instead of sending a 50-cent postcard to 300 homes. Like,
return. We send out 300 postcards and people come in. They didn't read them. They
can't,
checked their
but
mail.
we can't say it's zero.
Right, but close to
But we
zero.
can't. We did everything that we could.
But what's the,
How many of those 300 people have the PD up at their house? All of or
it's
do you give them a month or so to send PD?
well, they have until 30th. We wait. I have to advise a notice the middle of June, so already going into June.
So some people have
And then
trickled in.
I actually charge any fees until August 1st to make sure that everybody has been served, because I can't charge a forfeiture fee if you haven't been served.
Right.
So
The
comes
forfeiture
into-
fee is what?
it's 25 for processing, so you end up like over
Another $1.
it's
Do
$1
you
a
have
month.
a sense of 300 a time, how it went out to last year? What's on average?
Last year it's 180 I
That's a
brought you
lot.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm asking for 180 postcards. I'm not asking for 300.
And I think if you have time to fill out the postcards, then we should all do them together. You know, I mean, in all honesty, it seems we do this all the time, constant thing with the dog, and I don't have the time for that.
When I came in to register motorcycle, they asked me, so you want to register your ducks?
Sign on our thing.
Yeah, might as well just do that now. If they didn't, I'd probably be having the officer and I'd be like, have a coffee. What did I do wrong?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
People this type of engagement differently, and I think that reflect that. My first year, very well aware of a police officer, and it scared the living daylight of little kids because they thought Daddy was getting arrested because he had to go talk to a police officer, and like. That's not what this is about. This is about, over the past 2 years that I've been on the board, I've received several, like, why the heck are we sending police to my house?
But that could also be a teaching moment for children. Why these people are here, and that they're here to protect.
I mean, hold on, excuse me. It was. This is, guys, this is a. Okay.
I mean, we used to have animal control.
This was a teaching moment. There's no one who's been more supportive of law enforcement in this community than me. Look at the bullet ends of the highway. We got Stephen Arkell signs because of that I did. Let's just of course, that moment. I've served in capacities at the federal level. This isn't me. I didn't want to scare my child, and other people are having issues with it. So it's hilarious. People, when they come to their, is it a teachable moment? Yes. Did I, as a parent, take advantage of that?
Of course.
Please, Lois. Of course I did.
Well,
But it's not the same for everybody. I'm asking for a postcard. That's it. It's a postcard.
Do they, our police department does, they absorb control, right?
correct.
The officers are doing it because Billy do it. For
Years
years
The officers have been doing it for the last
Because we don't have animal
3
control.
years.
because they put that into their budget.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to suggest that we table this week and reconsider it next week. I think not a handful in the audience and generally here. I think both sides of the
Jen, so I gave this conversation to Jen.
That's why he had to go to the bathroom.
So I get both sides of the argument. I've heard the same thing. I don't know that we're at a productive now, and I don't think
Are you all set with me then?
Always too, and like when before the, I won't be here, but when she comes before the, to forfeiture, how many are there? All right, and then somebody at that commission, let's send out before we agree to sign this.
Sure. Summer,
She usually,
we could reassess.
so in June, if she comes and says, listen, I got 100 people that haven't shown up to do this, at that point, you can say, I make a motion that we send out postcards.
Sure.
Yep.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
And then it just basically takes care of that whole issue at that point. Because you might find out by then, if we got the website up and going and everything else, we're getting things and talking about the education aspect. You might have 8.
Postcards, yeah.
In June, you can say, all right, what do we got going on? Then we'll drop.
Chief and Tara left, so we could always place it up.
You know,
Yeah. PD should send a warning letter, we're coming out if you don't do X, Y, Z. All right, so readdress.
All set?
Thank you.
Hey. I'll take the reins. Bob Stevens on the agenda, but he tonight, so Senate Bill 2.
So that was, when I came on board, one of the things I did through the last 10 years of town meeting, annual reports, just kind of, looking at how many people go to town meeting, how many people come to in person at the polls. And I was interested in SB2 because a lot of the towns around us, in fact, like the bulk of the towns around us are SB2 towns, and our co-op is SB2, so we already have some experience. For those who don't, understand what SB2 is on the board, I think generally you guys do, it's just the alternate way of doing your town voting and town meeting. First became available in 1995, I want to say, and then they kind of tweaked it a couple of times, and they usually referred to it as SB Senate Bill 2 since 2000 for the past 20 years. And there's a list that I gave you guys of all the towns and schools and cooperative regional schools that are all SB2. And a lot of our local neighbors have decided to go SB2. So the basics of SB2 is you still have a town meeting sort of event, and you still have an at the polls ballot event, but the way they work is different. Now we elect town officials, and we do co-op votes at the polls, on the warrants, on paper, do all budgeting and all warrant articles for the functioning of the town at town meeting. What SB2 does is it turns that first into a deliberative session, I'm familiar with from the school district, and that's where the articles are presented, explained, debated, amended, etc., but not voted on, and then those warrants to the paper at the polls. Just a different way of processing and dealing with the warrants, and then when the townspeople actually vote on them. The reason I had thought of this was just looking at the numbers of how people have voted in recent years, and that it, in general, we didn't used to keep really, at least I couldn't find town records, really religious of how many traditionally count meeting. You can expect it based on ballot vote. And so looking at the last 10 years, ballot vote meetings have reached a minimum of 67 people to a maximum of 130 or so people, whereas our turnout at the polls was generally about 4 to 5 times higher than that. The past couple of years, those numbers have separated from each other, and the polls is generally 6 to 7 times higher. So we're talking in the realm of 1,000-ish people that come to the polls, relative to 150 to 175 or so on average people that come to town meeting. So thinking about sort of democracy, I've heard Dick Chamberlain say how much he loves town meeting, like pure democracy in action. but it's pure democracy with 150 people, which is 5% of our population, of our voting population. And then we're having 30, 35, 38% plus sometimes come to our March in-person elections. So I just wanted to throw it there for people that are in terms of, we're talking about modernizing the website. And I think in terms of in 2023, it's hard for people to get to town meeting. There doesn't even hold that many more people than it holds now. And there's pluses and minuses to this. So, you'll hear strong arguments for both sides. This has come up in Brentwood 4 times in the past years. It was on our in 2013, 2014, and 2016. In most of those, it narrowly failed. One of those years it failed by quite a bit, but one time it failed by 12 votes, and 2 times it failed by about 50 votes. So I think there is sort of a split in the town, and as the town has grown and our vote has gone up, I'm curious to see if we put this on the ballot, what they're feeling of the town is. I've talked to Karen about it in terms of what would be different. The main things that would be different is if we wanted to, we could move our dates. We could do it like we do now. We would have a February deliberative session and a March election, or you're allowed to do March, April, or April, May. So that would give us some flexibility, but budget, obviously. And then require the creation of default budget like we do for, so it's a little bit of different work for the town and for the BudCom. They would have to do a slightly different role for this. And just to stress, the idea here is not that instead of going to town meeting, you show up at the polls. It's that the same meaty discussion occurs at the town deliberative session. Because if you don't know what these warrants are about and you haven't heard the chiefs make their case and you haven't heard the pros and cons, then you're not truly educated when you're filling in your bubbles at the polls. So it doesn't, that's sometimes what you'll hear is like the downside of SB2 is if people think, oh, I don't even need to go to deliberative sessions anymore because I'm just gonna go to the polls, then that backfires. So there is a definite push-pull here, and some communities prefer one, some prefer the other. I feel like it's been, 7 years since we've had it on the ballot, and our electorate has changed a little bit. So I was looking for the board's opinion of whether you guys would be interested in putting it on the ballot this year. It does have to go on the paper ballot, and it needs a 3/5 majority to pass, and then you can undo it in the future with a similar 3/5 if you wanted to go back to our current town meeting.
So it's on the Tuesday budget, or Tuesday
It would be on,
ballot.
yeah, it's on the Tuesday ballot, because you need the whole electorate to vote on it.
So,
Just how it was done before.
Oh, this is at the polls.
It would be
Yes.
at the polls
Not
on
at the
March
town
or
meeting.
whatever,
Oh.
18th or whatever.
I didn't know if
It would
they-
not be a town
I
meeting.
didn't know if town meeting, they then
Nope.
put up the paper.
No.
Make a
No.
motion,
No, it's
5
on the
people
ballot.
put this on the
No,
paper.
it's on the ballot.
at hour 3 of town meeting, I'm usually wishing that we're a Senate Bill 2 time.
Sure.
So my questions would be, how many of the local towns that have Senate Bill 2 would want to go back to traditional town meeting? Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is Senate Bill 2 is a great idea. I think the only drawback is that deliberative session can amend a warrant article to $1. So they could amend a radio warrant article to $1. Town meeting voting could approve that warrant article, but there's no money to buy the radios. And less people traditionally show up to deliberative session than do town.
Yep.
So that's, in my opinion, the biggest drawback to Senate Bill 2.
Yep.
Is less people can control what happens.
And I actually totally agree with you. I think you could make the counter argument that currently that exactly happens now. Less on the entire budget. We're talking 4% of the electorate make the financial decisions for this whole town. So I agree, because I'm like, oh, maybe we just don't even want to go there. But I think if you to this town, your butt either at town meeting or at town session. Yes, that's where the happens. And so that is the potential side, is that when you some say that when they go to SB2, their town session attendance drops but ours is so low that it's almost like a wash, because I think the same people who town meeting, they go to town session, and will we lose people? Maybe, I don't know. I think it's, I mean, it's up to the voters, right? This is not up to me. It's,
So there's 70 towns currently that are on SB. Do you know how many have unions?
By unions.
Union contract and bargaining agreements.
how would that impact SB2?
Because the contracts are built to the default budget. And so that's considered a cost that would get reported in future years.
That's for the.
But that would be the same as, any
Police,
budget.
fire.
It would, you couldn't, they would still get, if the union budget, if the union contract is approved by the union employees still get their raises throughout the contract.
Right. Yeah, so it's
If the budget could be cut, and the selectmen would have to figure out how to not go over the budget, but those union employees are guaranteed that
Right.
raise.
And you
whatever.
actually can't cut the budget, you could cut the budget significantly at deliberative session, but the town would have the option to reject amended budget. That's why there's a default budget, which is calculated on a complicated set of values, basically. So it does give you that little wiggle room if deliberative session was really off the rails and put forth a really, really low ball budget, that the town would have to realize that they do have an alternative of the budget.
Can they, so, I'm just trying to, so like at the deliberative session, would they still be restricted to, they can't go then off
That's
what
not
the
a
budget
thing,
committee
actually. So the 10% upwards, adjust the budget upwards by more than 10%. You could
Okay.
theoretically make a drop the tax from $5 million to $1, I believe,
Really?
is my understanding. There's a down
In a
10%.
deliberative
It's an
session.
up. That's what they did in Croydon with the school.
Going up.
It's only, yes,
Really?
that's what
They
they did in
come
Croydon.
down?
Cut the school budget by 50%. 30 people in the room that voted for it, and then they had
That was
another, I think, wasn't that where it happened? Where they had that big
Yep.
snafu? So yes, it's only an up.
Are
It's
they
not a
an
down.
SB2?
But I mean, you could do that now. We could do that under town meeting or deliberative session. So I mean, I could go ways, like, I just feel like the demographics of the town have changed. People have shown that their schedules and their life, they are much, much, much more likely to show election day than at town meeting. But make of that what you will. I mean, that's their choice to not come to the meeting. So I'm just suggesting that we voters, because like I said, to any of the five of us, it has to be a vote. The bulk of the voters who come in.
When do we have to put this on?
You'd have to hold a
February.
public hearing, and then it would go on the ballot in March.
When
There's
does
a
the
public hearing
have to
15 prior, I
15
think.
days prior at least.
be To election.
At least 15 days prior to the question being voted on, so it would have to be by March 1st or whatever. I think that's mostly to explain it, so that people understand what they're really voting for.
And nobody usually comes.
And like I said, this has come forward 4 times in the past 10 years and narrowly failed 3 out of 4 times. So there is some interest in government. So, you know, it's been for a few years. So just looking, interested in putting it forward. It may get voted down, it may get voted through, I have no idea.
Like I did on the warrant articles, I'm a firm believer, put it out there and see what, but that's.
Legislative body decides, not us.
I don't know how I feel about it, but if we leave it to the voter.
That's, I mean, it's kind of like the warrant articles, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do you want us to do?
Right.
Tell me.
It gives another option. Might you get more people at the deliberative session if 4 hours, 8 hours? Maybe, maybe not. No, it's individual homeowner, whether they show up or not. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses to both. And in terms of, I've talked to some people, somebody from Exeter, they with the SB town for the reason you suggested, that if a really vocal minority shows up at deliberative session, they can completely kill something, and that the town's hands. So yes, that can be very frustrating, but that we could do that now. So it's really not from what we do now. But yeah, there's pluses and minuses, and make sure I think that's the intention of the public meeting. People really understand the pros and cons for them as voters.
What do you think?
Like I said, I go both ways. The thing I don't is the way it's formatted. Like, if it was an annual meeting where more like
Right.
the budget hearing, where we presented the facts, why we're gonna do this without changing numbers, I would be 100% for it. But because
It can get rocky.
you get rocky,
How does,
Which is why you budget.
I guess the one thing on it is the session, they changed the budget, and you said that the voters can reject
Yes.
that, but.
Just like we do with the co-op, you know, when we go to vote on the co-op, you see, do you approve the co-op budget of $70 billion, right? Or if not, if this loses, the default budget will be blah, 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 blah.
And
And
that's
so
from the previous year.
it's a calculation massage that's done every year.
Previous year service and certain
Plus
configurations.
Yeah.
that source, yeah.
Town can, if the session drastically cuts the budget, the town has an out, reject that and default. But if they might not get some of the things they wanted, and to Andy's point, if specific warrants are down,
They're done.
then they're done, right? But you can't kill at deliberative session, because you can amend it, but you can't kill it. For the voters.
say in this town meeting, you can't change the intent.
Right,
You just can change the amount.
right.
But like the library, if nobody knows what it is and they see $200,000 on it, just be like,
Exactly.
and then it's dead.
That's one of the
well,
potential
no.
downsides, is you have a less informed, larger election, and
It's
so,
not
That's fine, and they changed the 250,000
to a
to
dollar.
one,
Yeah.
that gets
Pushed out into the
Right.
published on it.
yeah,
$1.
Yeah.
yeah, there's, I mean, I'm not in it for either one. I put it back to, because I just see that we have 7 times more people coming election day, which that it is hard for people, for them to get to the meeting, or they're not interested, or, I can't tell you why people don't go to town, but the definite shift in the electorate behind Brentwood, time to put it back up.
Let's put in 4.
I believe those were petition warrant articles.
Yeah, citizens petition.
So is that a motion?
I would like to make a motion forward to the voters in March.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carries.
We'll see what. Thank you.
Do you have anything else?
I do not, and I don't.
Okay, well, we already talked about the applications. And we already talked about energy, Tom Palmer,
We did that.
y'all got a note about that, the audit?
Yep, that's all set.
He wants, audit
Get on the future agenda.
energy, yeah, eventually, that down the pipe,
The town buildings?
which I think is,
Yeah, a few years back, that's how we,
Yeah.
LED lights.
Nice.
I think that's,
John?
Condev was canceled yesterday because of the tower system was closed.
Hoping the con will be here for this, but wait.
Committee update, loss coming up again soon. Enter to file or offices starts tomorrow. We'll have seen that, but just a little reminder.
And it goes to next Friday, right?
5th to the 3rd. Yeah.
Next 5.
Next Friday at 5?
Third at 5.
Yep.
That's where you get the 5 from.
Yeah.
It's the third at 5.
So just to
Budget committee meeting the 30th? What? I did. We talked a couple times.
And then reviewing all the warrants, right?
Yes. Review all the, because they don't do them yet.
Are we now through?
And what's the cutoff?
February 7th.
Because I, Josh was gonna bring this forward, so we'll have that one coming at some point.
That comes forward by, that's fine, that doesn't need to.
Because it's not monetary. Gotcha. Perfect.
All right, I'll open up to public comments. Try to keep it.
What do you want? 2? 1 minute?
3 minutes.
2? 3?
This is for
Liz, Southbrook. So the deliberations for the co-op, this one is on Monday, February 5th, I think. There are come to the deliberative for the co-op, that come to the Brentwood. 28,000 something voters in towns that could be deliberative session. And the deliberative session comes to the hearing, explaining, I think 5 or 6, and 4 of us were this year. The, more than a third of the board, not even 69 million at the hearing. They are represents this public hearing, and only 5 that were not there. It is hearing where the school board, if they heard some good things, could change the number, and then if you were it's usually in the hundreds, 56 or something. I have help you, lower the number, but schools hemorrhaging students and hemorrhaging money. They've got to say this, enough is enough. There's 5 schools started since I've been 18 years. I've lived of the failures of specifically the middle school, but also high school. 5 separate schools. I'm a big fan of do I think people are around. Usually I march less than 30%, usually 20%. I have a question about the $1,000 that for the Rockingham planning check. What was that for?
That was our use, the 2023 year, and it's based on
And for
working with RPC. They help us with planners. They'll
okay.
Great.
And please help. You have that?
I think each office.
you can do this faster.
Take 10. And then I did hear 50 for the people, 50 radios for the fire. And there was no discussion of making it.
It's on, it's a.
That'll be times
I
up.
know. Full-time guys.
All 4. Time. Any other questions?
Becky Dunham, Rock Brentwood. The warrants proposed so far.
Modified.
91,000 tonight.
Yeah, you got 1,000 for, you got 188,000 fire, so
Yeah.
that's probably.
In addition,
Yeah.
Oh, just 2, right?
IT hardware, which was evaluation of 5,000. So these road money, no, because we have that off.
Another.
You got 350 just for road.
350 for road, so maybe that's 4.
No, we
I put money
Scrap bridges.
We
Yeah,
took
you
bridges
scrap
out.
bridges because you have the
Yep.
Senate bill money.
So about another 3.5 to 4.
$1.1 million then so far, okay. So I have friends who live in towns with SB2, and the people do not attend SB2 deliberative sessions. You get less of a discussion, less voter, no matter how many voters on election day. The ones who go to the informal town meeting provide that after all these years. I think it's a good thing. Like,
Please come to the public hearing, anybody that wants to their Senate Bill 2. Yes.
Will the board make a recommendation on the SB2 warrant?
So it just goes up straight, a straight.
Yeah, it's not a related,
Our vote was just to place it there.
any other, Jim?
So I thank the manager and the chair for talking about the funds this evening. I'm pointed about to use it for safety hazard at the library. I couldn't find anything restricting the use. It seemed restrictions I saw. It can't offer tax increases. It can't be used for funding pension liabilities. Even with that, this notion. And it's like all the same. This is not, you could read the GFOA guidelines. You gave us 221. I think all of those 100,000 full-time firefighter. I can't hear that well. So I thought you said full-time firefighter, 86,000 salary, 35,000 health insurance costs. Like all of those are recurring. And I think the chair, you said it right. I mean, I get it. It was a tax break this year because of these you're proposing. Fine, but then say.
We did.
Yeah, but because a dollar's not a dollar. Expense, and you pay for it with opera, it's all paid for, because you don't have to pay for it, the government pays. But costs don't go away, and we're gonna have to pay. Even said it, a dollar's not a dollar, you're wrong. And I mean, it's not, so if you wanna give us a tax.
Jim, that's the discussion we had when we decided to use it this way, was coming out of the worst of a pandemic. These ARPA funds were to help your town recover from the worst of the pandemic. We wanted to use them to offset taxes. Very overt. We overt that this is, that I think Andy called it a ban.
You're not offsetting
It's taxes for this calendar year, which would be by.
Okay.
We can agree to disagree on that, Jim. It's fine.
You can disagree with the chair, but
I have a question about the ARPA funds. Are they applied end of year revenue, applied currently of the year as the expenses are incurred?
Reported on, when I submit the budget form, they're reported as a gross revenue offsetting the budget.
So kind of like every other revenue that the town has?
Yes.
And you just have to earmark them against,
Certain line items in the budget, so that when you get to the bottom line figure, they can say, this is your gross expenditures, these are revenues, offsetting revenue, how much money you need to raise in taxation.
thank you.
Any other public comment?
Sorry, it's from the library. All I want to say is that I'm really excited about what the library was able to do today. With the power outage, we had many people coming in to do phone conferences for work. We had, needed study rooms. We even had somebody come with their medical equipment that needed to be charged and has not been able to be
second to adjourn discussion. Favor?
Aye.